Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Michael and Dale at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Recovery efforts continue in Washington, D.C. as first responders are working around the clock to recover the victims of the American Airlines crash just short of the Reagan National runway on Wednesday night. Also, there are reports that another flight had to abandon its landing at the last minute due to a helicopter flying into its path just the night before the 67 people were killed in a similar incident. We're beginning to learn the identities of some of the American Airline passengers as family and friends are sharing tributes online. We'll share that with you today. And FBI Director nominee Kash Patel turns tables on Democrat senator with a very viral response saying, "Senator, you have 2 minutes." You're going to want to hear this story.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but you know they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Donald Trump offered his condolences to the family of the 67 people killed Wednesday night when an American Airlines flight approaching Reagan National collided with an Army helicopter. The president drew criticism from the left because of his comments indicating that woke practices from the Biden-Harris administration had affected the safety of air travel due to DEI hiring requirements. But Trump may not have been completely wrong. We've got a serious situation unfolding, one that raises some big concerns about the state of air traffic control in this country. A devastating collision of this sort at a major airport like this, where 67 people lost their lives, is very concerning. And some of the reports that we're getting now are even more concerning. You all know by now the American Airlines plane that collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter, and both just gone in an instant. And now a new FAA internal report is raising some serious red flags about staffing issues in that particular control tower that night. So here's what we know. The Associated Press got its hands on a preliminary FAA report, and guess what? It confirms what a lot of us have been warning about and a lot of us have been concerned about, and what President Trump was talking about in his news conference where the left just went crazy yesterday. Staffing levels in air traffic control towers are dangerously low, according to the Associated Press and this internal report. According to the report, only one air traffic controller was handling two separate positions at the time of the crash. That's a job, according to them, is normally requires two controllers. But on Wednesday night, one person was doing both. Let's be clear. The FAA itself admits that this kind of position configuration is, and I quote, not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic. But here's where it gets a little murkier. Someone familiar with the situation is now telling Fox News Digital that staffing levels at the tower were actually normal that night. So what's the real story here? Is it this internal report, or is it this inside person reporting to Fox News? We've known for a while now that air traffic control staffing is a disaster waiting to happen. We've heard stories of the shortages. Reagan National has been struggling for years, according to reports. As of last September, the tower had only 19 fully certified controllers. You want to know how many the FAA says that it actually should have to run things safely? 30. That's quite a shortfall. They have 19, and according to the FAA, they should have 30. And this isn't just about this one airport. This is a national problem. Of course, everybody's looking at Reagan National because of this horrible accident this week where these people lost their lives. Last year, Frontier Airlines CEO Barry Biffle went on Fox Business and warned that there were shortages all around the country and that they could cause serious issues, delays, cancellations, and yes, even accidents. We're seeing those warnings play out in real time. Beifel pointed out something important. Technology can help, but it's not going to fix this overnight. Right now, the U.S. is about 3,000 controllers short nationwide. And when you've got severe weather or high traffic, those shortages turn into major disruptions. Delays lead to cancellations, crews time out, and passengers are left stranded. I have experienced that myself in my air travel. And the FAA's own safety review team isn't mincing words either. Last year, they came out and said that the current level of safety is unsustainable. Why? Because it's not just about staffing. It's a combination of outdated technology, tight budgets, and higher turnover. So what's the bottom line here? Is the FAA playing a dangerous game with public safety, with our safety, with your safety, my safety? We're dealing with overworked controllers, according to these reports, outdated equipment, according to their reports, and government bureaucracy that keeps kicking the can down the road. And now we have 67 people presumed dead, a devastated community, grieving families who want answers and deserve answers. And get this, it gets worse for Reagan National. Their reports are that the night before this American Eagle Flight 5342 collided with the Army Black Hawk helicopter, the night before, a jet that tried to land at the same airport had to circle around and make another approach after a helicopter approached its flight path as well. The Washington Post reported that an audio recording from air traffic control captured the encounter, and ultimately, Republic Airways Flight 4514 landed safely, but only after they circled the airport. They abandoned their attempted landing. This Embraer E-175 was cleared to land at the airport's runway 19 and advised about a helicopter in its vicinity. It executed a go-around maneuver after its automated collision avoidance system ordered what's known as a resolution advisory to avoid nearby traffic. So in other words, their automation kicked in and initiated a go-around. That put the aircraft out of the proper alignment for landing. Again, it was able to land safely several minutes later after it circled. The military helicopter that was advised of the plane, just like it was on Wednesday night, which is flying around nearly 1,000 feet above the helicopter. Responders continue to sort through the wreckage, searching for the remains. Again, 67 people on board the aircraft and the helicopter. We're told that the aircraft was upside down in the Potomac, which was making it a little tougher for first responders to be able to get the remains out. It's just a sad, sad time for sure. Family and friends of those who lost their lives in this deadly American Airlines crash are sharing tributes online as they wait for more answers about how the tragedy happened. And we're learning about the identity of some of the passengers. Tim Lilly identified his son, 28-year-old Sam Lilly, as the first officer on American Airlines Flight 5342. Mr. Lilly wrote in a Facebook post, "I was so proud when Sam became a pilot. Now it hurts so bad I can't even cry myself to sleep. I know I'll see him again, but my heart is breaking." Sam was the first officer on the flight that crashed in D.C. last night. He was doing great in his career and his personal life. He was engaged to get married in the fall. It is so devastating to lose someone that is loved so much, the father added. Scott Hubbard Jr., a friend and former colleague of Sam Lilly, wrote on Facebook, "I had the honor to help welcome him to one of his first flying jobs at Skylands as the outgoing chief pilot due to starting my career at the airline. He was a phenomenal pilot. I never got to fly with him at the airlines as I changed companies, but I was so proud to know him and consider him a friend. My heart is heavy for his family and fiance." A flight attendant on board the flight has been identified as Ian Epstein. Debbie Epstein, Ian's wife, wrote on a Facebook post, "It is with a very heavy heart and extreme sadness that myself, along with our children, Hannah Epstein and Joanna Epstein, and his sister, Robbie Epstein Bloom, and her husband, Stephen Bloom, and nieces, inform you that Ian Epstein was one of the flight attendants on American Airlines Flight 5342 that collided last night when they were landing in D.C. Please pray for Ian and our family as we travel to D.C. We will update when when plans are made. So far, American Airlines has not confirmed the identities of any of the passengers or crew. It is a sad time. Let's continue to pray for everyone affected and pray for the first responders who are doing their job trying to recover the victims of this crash. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. The U.S. Senate continues its confirmation process of a number of different nominees to fill the cabinet positions of President Donald Trump's administration. And the left is just absolutely losing it over some of his picks. For example, FBI Director Kash Patel, or the FBI nominee, after yesterday's fiery confirmation hearing, it's kind of easy to see why the left is so upset. Patel took center stage before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I got to tell you, it didn't take long for the liberal outrage machine to kick into high gear. He is so smooth and calm as he answers the questions. I mean, you know, when they go to a Democrat senator, you know the types of questions that are going to come up because none of the Democrats are going to vote for him. So who's leading the charge against Kash Patel yesterday? None other than Minnesota Democrat Amy Klobuchar. And boy, was she out of her league. Who thought, I don't know who among the Democrats thought that Amy Klobuchar was the one to lead the charge. Now, she thought she was going to score some cheap political points. But boy, did she get smacked down by Kash Patel. Let's take a look and listen to this exchange. Senator Klobuchar tried to twist Patel's past statements, suggesting that he had accused U.S. Capitol police officers of lying under oath during the January 6th hearings. A lot of the questioning around Kash Patel has been about January the 6th. But Patel wasn't having any of it. Listen to this exchange between Patel and Klobuchar.
And that was in March of 2024 on Joe Pack's podcast. He asked you, the Capitol Police in that fake January 6th committee, they didn't tell the truth, did they? Patel, no. Not just them, many others. And lying under oath is a federal offense, and they should be investigated for it. Do you believe that about the police officers?
That's a general statement and a mischaracterization of what I said. I encourage you to read the rest of the interview. This is why snippets of information are often misleading and detrimental to this committee's advice and consent process.
If you consent, I would love to have 5 hours of questions, and then I could read the whole transcripts.
You've got 2 minutes.
Wow.
You got 2 minutes. She didn't quite know how to respond to that. She said, wow. You should have seen her face. Did you love it? The moment that had conservatives cheering across social media when Klobuchar tried to squeeze in more gotcha questions and Patel shot back with a reality check. You've got 2 minutes, Senator. Evidently, he must have a timer in front of him as well, and he's keeping up with the senator's time. Again, the look on Klobuchar's face, priceless. Immediately, conservatives online erupted with praise. Town halls, Dustin Grage wrote, Amy Klobuchar continues to get outmaneuvered by Kash Patel at every turn of this committee hearing. Radio host Rich Cementa summed it up very simply. Kash Patel for the win. And Benny Johnson, he called it exactly what it was, savage. Folks, this is why the left fears Kash Patel. This is why they don't want him in that position. He's not just another bureaucrat. He's a fighter who understands that the FBI needs to be cleaned out from top to bottom. And that's exactly what he's promising to do. During the hearing, Patel laid out his vision for the FBI that serves the American people, not the political elites in Washington. He vowed to root out corruption in the Bureau, hold rogue agents accountable for weaponizing law enforcement, and restore trust in America's top investigative agency as it should be. We should trust the FBI to do their jobs. We should trust that when we have tough cases out there, that the FBI is going to get to the bottom of them and not get caught up in politics. And let's be honest, after the scandals and the corruption under Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland, this can't happen soon enough. And that's why the left, they don't want Kash Patel in the position because, quite honestly, they don't want him in the FBI kind of looking under the hood, trying to potentially uncover some of the things that they have been doing under the Biden-Harris administration. The Democrats know that their days of using the FBI as a political weapon are over. And that's why they're coming after Kash Patel so hard. But if today's hearing proved anything, it's that Kash Patel can handle the heat, and he's just getting warmed up. In other confirmation news, Tulsi Gabbard, President Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, she too took center stage at her Senate confirmation hearing. And let me tell you, she didn't hold back either. She slammed the leftist narrative that she's some kind of puppet for world leaders, saying that her only loyalty is to God, the Constitution, and her own conscience. Here's the deal. Gabbard made it crystal clear in her opening statement. She knows exactly what the opposition is trying to do, and she's not going to play along.
Now, before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
Folks, she called him out big time for pushing this absurd narrative that she's just a puppet. Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, then a guru's puppet. She even pointed out the ridiculousness of being accused of serving 5 different puppet masters at once. Wow. Boom. She that's exactly the kind of straight talk Washington needs more of. And again, you got one of Trump's nominees pushing back on the narratives that the Democrats are trying to put forward. Gabbard has a very unique political journey if you've kept up with her. She served as a Democrat in Congress before leaving the party in 2022. Now she's standing firm with the GOP and backing Trump 100%. And that loyalty hasn't gone unnoticed. Trump called her a fearless spirit when he picked her to lead the nation's intelligence apparatus. And this is what Trump looks for. He looks for someone who's a fighter and someone who's going to be loyal to him. And I think he found one in Tulsi Gabbard. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Continuing today's show, got a lot of text messages. Not sure I'm going to be able to get to a lot of them today. Here's one that kind of got my attention here that I wanted to answer for you. Good morning, Joey. Praying, as I'm sure you are and your listeners are, for the people on the American Airlines plane and the helicopter that collided into each other this weekend. And yes, we are all praying for them. Texter says, I've got a question. Do you know why the flags are flying half-mast? President Carter has been buried, and so there's another reason maybe. Maybe it's for the Israel hostages that died. If you know, please comment on your podcast. Thank you. Keep up the good work. I love your podcast. Well, thank you. I appreciate you listening to Just the Truth. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure and click on that subscribe button and also turn on notifications so that you know when I post something new. Well, the reason the flags are still half-mast, and there was a bit of a controversy about this at the inauguration because President Trump had to order the flags put back normal for the day of the inauguration, which they did, but then they put them back to half-mast. As the order was that they would fly at half-mast through January the 28th for Jimmy Carter. So they should be back. Some may not have put them back yet, but that order was through January the 28th. Texter says, how about let's send Letitia James and all who think like her to Gitmo? These nuts are committing treason as they are not protecting their citizens. MS-13 was in my community about 10 years ago, and we lived in fear until they moved on. Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem has halted government funding for progressive groups that assist migrants, citing concerns over taxpayer dollars being used to facilitate illegal immigration, according to Breitbart. Now, this is an example. There was controversy this week over the OMB issuing a letter on Monday saying that government funding was being frozen until they could have a chance, the Trump administration could review some of the spending. And, they came back a couple of days later after they were sued. A federal judge appointed by Joe Biden suspended the action until the courts could review this executive order. Well, when the Trump administration came back and withdrew or rescinded the OMB letter, they made it clear that this didn't mean that the spending freeze had been lifted, that they were still going to look at individual programs case by case, and that the president had the authority to suspend those programs and their spending if they felt like that the programs were not within step with his policy goals. So this is what Kristi Noem's Homeland Security Chief did. She suspended federal funding for non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, that provide aid to migrants pending a 90-day review, announcing the decision yesterday during an appearance on Fox, saying that the grants had been misused to enable illegal immigration. Noem said, it's amazing to me the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been spent by the federal government that has been sent to NGOs to facilitate this invasion of our country. The funding freeze comes amid heightened debate, of course, over immigration policy and border security, key issues that President Donald Trump has said are going to be front and center in his administration. Noem is a staunch Trump ally, argued that the move was necessary to safeguard taxpayer dollars. She said, so I've taken action to stop those funds, to reevaluate them, and to make sure that we're actually using taxpayer dollars in a way that strengthens this country, that keeps us safe. Now, this is the kind of stuff that we need. This is what the types of action that the American people want. We want every dollar that is spent to be reviewed, because I got a feeling a lot of those millions and billions of dollars are going to prove to be contrary to what Donald Trump was sent to Washington to do. Now, while the Department of Homeland Security conducts a review, Ms. Noem emphasized that the administration is committed to prioritizing border security and deporting those illegally entering the country. She said, we're not spending another dime to help the destruction of this country. We're going to make sure that we follow through on what President Trump has promised, and that's to make sure we're securing our borders and deporting those who are here illegally. And this is what we have to do. The announcement followed some of the Democrat members of Congress claiming that Trump was attempting to halt federal spending on essential programs like Social Security. This has nothing to do with Social Security, has nothing to do with essential services. This is a program where the federal government under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has been spending our tax money helping illegals to live here. And Ms. Noem specifically targeted funds that are directed to these migrant aid groups. And she's right. By spending money on helping them with transportation, helping them with housing, helping feed them, we are funding our own invasion. Representative Lance Gooden is a Republican from Texas. He's been very vocal in his opposition to using taxpayer funds for the NGOs assisting migrants. He recently wrote on his congressional website that such groups have exploited their humanitarian status to encourage illegal immigration. He wrote, "These organizations, understanding the benefits of NGO status, have been exploiting the humanitarian banner to incentivize illegal immigration across our borders. They receive taxpayer dollars to house, feed, and transport illegal immigrants across the United States. Their services act as a magnet for illegal immigrants looking to enter our country." He went on to say, when NGOs enable illegal border crossings, they create avenues that can be exploited by individuals who pose a risk to our security. This practice undermines the efforts of countless individuals who've gone through the legal process to immigrate into our country. The role of NGOs in assisting migrants has long been a contentious issue. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris loved sending these organizations millions and millions of dollars for them to spend to help make illegal immigration easier. In 2023, News Nation reported that some groups use federal dollars to relocate undocumented immigrants across the country, while the Biden administration's Department of Homeland Security struggled to track how the funds were being spent. There were times, if you look at some of the reports, the Biden administration did not even know who they were sending the money to and did not know how they were spending it. And keep in mind, some of the leaders of these NGOs are getting filthy rich. They're being paid millions of dollars for their work with these organizations, only to help destroy our country. President Trump's, moving on to another topic here, President Trump's interest in buying Greenland. You know, we've seen a lot of reporting on this, and you have to stop and think sometimes, is he doing this just to poke the Democrats, the left, or is he really serious about it? Well, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in an interview yesterday, this is not a joke. He was on SiriusXM's The Megyn Kelly Show. He said, President Trump, what he has said publicly is he wants to buy it. What he's saying is pretty accurate. People have talked about it for years. This is not about acquiring land for the purpose of acquiring land. This is in our national interest, and it needs to be solved. Rubio added that he was not involved in Trump's call to Danish Prime Minister Frederiksen, but he knows that the president speaks bluntly and frankly with people, and he said he believes that diplomacy works better when the people involved are straightforward as opposed to using platitudes and language that translates to nothing. Greenland is vital, Rubio told Ms. Kelly, because of the potential for the use of the Arctic for shipping lanes. So this is going to get quite interesting, folks. Again, when I heard Trump talking about this, I suspected he was serious about it, but I wasn't quite sure because, you know, he likes to have fun with the left. He likes to say things to see how they respond. Rubio said, how do you get some of this energy that's going to be produced under President Trump? These energies rely on shipping lanes. The Arctic has some of the most valuable shipping lanes in the world. As some of the ice is melting, there's become more and more navigable. We need to be able to defend that. And as the Chinese do not yet have an Arctic presence, it's realistic to believe that they will try to do that with Greenland. Rubio said what they have done at the Panama Canal and other places, they'll try to do in Greenland as well. That would be to install facilities giving China access to the Arctic with the cover of a Chinese country, said the secretary. That would also allow China to send naval vessels to the Arctic and operate them from there. He said this would be completely unacceptable to the national security of the entire world and particularly the United States. He said the question becomes, if the Chinese begin to threaten Greenland, do we really trust that this is not a place where those deals are going to be made? Do we really trust that this is not a place where they would not intervene, maybe by force? When Megyn Kelly asked Rubio if he thinks the United States will own Greenland by the end of Trump's presidency, Rubio said that it's Trump's priority. He said, we're not in a position yet to discuss exactly how we proceed tactically, but rest assured, our partnerships in the Western Hemisphere will be stronger at the end of the Trump administration. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. Well, this is a big 360. The FBI's involvement in the nationwide crackdown on criminal illegal immigrants kind of underscores, no, actually, it's not a kinda. It does underscore the Trump administration's aggressive push to remove these individuals with suspected ties to violent gangs, cartels, and terrorist organizations. Here's what we learned. Acting FBI Director Brian Driscoll has confirmed that all 55 FBI field offices have been mobilized to support ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and Homeland Security investigations in arresting criminal illegal immigrants. It's like a full court press with all federal agencies now. Some of the members of the Tren de Arga, this gang, and one of the gang members that was captured in the Bronx, New York, after being linked to violent crimes in Colorado, that was done with the assistance of the FBI. In El Paso, Texas, a suspect accused of operating a stash house for human smuggling was also arrested. Again, it was a joint venture, if you will, of various federal agencies. Nationwide, over 5,500 criminal illegal immigrants have been apprehended in the past 7 days. Now, boy, is this not a change from the Biden-Harris administration? The Biden administration, they're not arresting these people. They're giving them credit cards or debit cards with money on them. They're putting them up in houses. They're sending millions of dollars to NGOs to try to help their life be a little bit easier in the United States. What's Donald Trump doing? He's rounding them up and shipping them out just as he promised. Some of the states involved: Illinois, Texas, New York, California. The FBI is providing intelligence, SWAT teams, and legal experts to aid in these operations, according to Acting Director Driscoll. Law enforcement agencies are particularly focused on the Tren de Arga, the MS-13, and other transnational criminal organizations, these gangs, these people who are selling drugs, who are making money, and they're terrorizing our neighborhoods. Vice President J.D. Vance reaffirmed the administration's commitment to prioritizing removing the violent criminals and gang-affiliated illegal immigrants, putting them at the top of the list. And that's what we're seeing. And of course, this week, President Trump suggesting that we build 30,000 or we prepare 30,000 beds at Gitmo to house some of these people in. So with the FBI, with ICE, DHS working in unison, the administration is expected to expand their operations even further. We're going to see those numbers go up. And Tom Holman predicted that earlier this week when I think it was Fox News, maybe Tuesday, when he was asked about the numbers, and he kind of smiled and he said, "You ain't seen nothing yet." My words, not his. Now, what's the response from Americans? More than half of likely U.S. voters say they approve of the immigration enforcement raids that have been launched since President Trump was sworn in. This new Rasmussen report says that likely voters, 57%, approve of the raids to catch and deport immigrants in the country illegally, including 38% who say they strongly approve, 39% who say they disapprove of the raids, and 24% who say they strongly disapprove. The Trump administration officials have ordered sanctuary cities protecting immigrants to be investigated. 48% of the voters say that officials in these locations should face prosecution if they interfere with the enforcement of federal immigration law. And they should. These mayors who are saying that they're not going to cooperate, if they get in the way or if they order their police departments, their local officials to interfere, they should all be arrested. And again, this is what most people are thinking. I mean, 86% of those who strongly approve of the raids say they favor prosecuting sanctuary city officials if they interfere with federal enforcement measures. 81% of Republicans, 36% of Democrats, and 45% of voters not affiliated with either major party at least somewhat approve of the raids. I mean, think about that. 36% of Democrats agree in some measure that these raids are okay. Is this surprising to you? No, it's not to me, because again, if you just look back at what happened November the 5th, that's what Americans were saying, right? We were asking President Donald Trump, who very clearly said, if you elect me, I'm going to start the largest deportation program in our nation's history. On the other hand, you had Kamala Harris saying absolutely not. She would not deport these illegals. And that's what we went to the polls on. Based on those two different candidates, those opposing views, Donald Trump won overwhelmingly. So the results of this poll is not a surprise. When you break it down into certain demographics, 62% of men and 52% of women say they approve of the raids, which is kind of common too. I mean, I would expect a higher percentage of men would be in favor of that. 58% of white voters are in favor of it. And get this, 54% of black voters approve of the raids. And 57% of Hispanic voters approve of the raids. This is just further evidence, folks, that Americans, we are emboldened with what President Trump is doing. And we're no longer afraid, not that I ever was, but a lot of Americans didn't want to be, didn't want their voice to be heard on this. They quietly supported the idea of deportations, but they were afraid to say it. With the overwhelming win of Donald Trump in November, people now know it's okay. It's okay for me to want to protect my family, to want to protect my community, to want to protect my job. And it's okay for me to support the idea that our country has borders, and the borders are there for a reason. That fence is there for a reason. That entry gate with those Border Patrol standing there guarding them is there for a reason. Yes, we have to be compassionate. We have to want to help people, but nobody has the right to flood into our country. Nobody has the right to come into our country and then expect us to take care of them, to expect us to house them, to clothe them, to feed them, to offer them transportation. Nobody has that right. And Americans are waking up and realizing that, yes, that's not an unreasonable expectation. And it's okay for me to say it out loud now. I don't have to be afraid to say that I believe that these illegals running around my community here, sitting in the emergency room when I go there with a family member, and they're taking up bed space there in the schools, filling up the schools, and all the other public services that they know their hard-earned tax dollars are paying for. People now know it's okay to say, hey, I don't support that. This shouldn't be happening. And this is just the beginning. Think about this for a minute. I mean, what's the day? The 31st of January? Donald Trump was sworn in on the 20th. And think about what has happened in this short period of time. And imagine what's possible over the next 4 years. Our country is going to be back to how we remember it prior to Joe Biden. And that is a good thing. That is a godsend. That is an answer to prayer. Because I don't know where we would have been with 4 more years of Kamala Harris. Thank goodness we don't have to experience that.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.